Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bitcoin News Weekly Live. I'm your host, Rob Wallace, and we've got a lot to get into today. So, yesterday, on Sunday, we saw a $310 million Bitcoin flash crash, sparked by a single whale dumping more than 24,000 Bitcoin in one go. Unfortunately, for short-term price action, this whale still holds over 150,000 BTC across linked wallets. And these funds were traced back to HTX deposits from 6 years ago. They've been sitting on it for about 7 years and then just boom, yesterday, sold it. Adam Back had the perfect reaction to this reckless execution of their sale, stating, "Have they not heard of TWAPs? Do they not like money?" And Grant Cardone asked, "Why would anyone dump that much Bitcoin on a Sunday night instead of waiting until Monday?" Well, here is your answer. On Sunday, as a whale, you can bully retail. You can move the market and trigger liquidations. But on Monday, institutions show up. With 10x your stack, they can move markets and absorb your sales. So that's the power dynamic in Bitcoin today. You got retail being bullied by whales, whales getting bullied by institutions, and institutions, well, they're the real market makers right now. And the proof is in vector candles. These are volume spikes, 10x larger than the normal flow. These are the footprints of big players, the institutional traps that wreck both retail and whales. As a whale, your bag of a couple thousand Bitcoin might look huge on a Sunday, but come Monday, you're just liquidity for the real sharks. And yet, despite the summer doldrums and whale games run amok, first-time buyers boosted their Bitcoin holdings by nearly 50,000 BTC just last week, bringing the total to almost 5 million Bitcoin. So, as you can see, us plebs are playing the long game. We are completely right to, because the probability of Bitcoin positive returns only grows with time. If you hold Bitcoin for one day, there's a 53% chance of it being positive. Hold it for a week, 56% chance of positive. 1 month, 58%. 1 year, 77% chance you're in the green. Hold it for 3 years, you're 99% sure to be making money. In 5 years, you are virtually guaranteed to be positive. So while whales and institutions fight over the price level on the short term, long-term holders like you and me, we just keep on winning. So yes, lots of headlines to jump into today, and I am very grateful to be joined by Car from PlebLab. How you doing, Car?
Hey, what's going on, Rob? Good to see you. Happy morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, it's never a dull week in Bitcoin, and we are here to break down the news. And I'm very glad that you're here today. And so, people who are just tuning in, why don't you tell them about PlebLab? What do you got going over on in Austin?
Yeah, so we're a hackerspace Bitcoin accelerator here in Austin, Texas. We help early stage companies find success, whether that be through raising their first pre-seed or seed round, or getting a grant from a well-established, uh, you know, you name it, HRF, OpenSats, or Brink, or any one of these, grant companies. Or, if it's, they want to take the long and hard path of building a bootstrap Bitcoin company, we help them with that too. So we do everything we can to help these projects, these early stage startups, or just developers to get their footing in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing it, and what are some of the success stories that have come out of PlebLab?
Yeah, so we've been doing it since early 2021 here in Austin, Texas. We had our original founding inside of Capital Factory, just down the street here in downtown Financial District, and yeah, we had Zaprite. So Zaprite was the first, one that kind of got headlines because Trump used it at PubKey. That was one of the early companies inside of PlebLab. Other one is Snacker News, used by many plebs and many Bitcoin developers. Another one was Oshi. Oshi's like this rewards app. Another one was here, let me see. There's so many. There was a Bit Escrow was one that came through there early on. We had people, very, very interesting people like Super Testnet. It's like this big developer that came through PlebLab in the early days. We had people like Ben Carmen and other people like that come through PlebLab in the early days. So we had a very big kind of a group of people that came through PlebLab in the early days. And since then, we had people like Yopaki, Cascader, and Jippy, and some of these other bigger startups come through PlebLab and reach success. So we're just trading them out and hitting home runs here at PlebLab. So
Yeah, man. Very cool. And I mean, I don't really know any other place in the world that does it like you guys do. And to have names like Zapright to come out of it, it just shows the effectiveness of what you guys are doing. But now you're also spreading to Mexico. So you've got a startup day down in the Yucatan. What's going on down there?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So last year so this is all brought on by Yopaki. So Yopaki was a company in our accelerator, and so we've been working with them for about 3 years now. And so they started something called the Bitcoin Block Party. I think it was in 2023, and that was a big success inside of Mexico City. Then in 24, we did the first startup day internationally inside of Mexico City. This was pretty big. It was right in the center of Mexico City. It was very vibrant, and it was very, very new. And I don't think there had ever been a Bitcoin startup day in Mexico City. So it was the first of its kind. It was pretty awesome. So many new startups, and I think actually you guys covered it. Bitcoin News covered it. And what was cool about it is out of that came Casa de Satoshi. Like it's a new hub that's been taken off there recently, and it's doing amazing things for the city there. And now we're doing a startup day in Yucatan, coinciding with another hub that's being built there called the White Paper House. And so that's a really cool thing that's happening down there that Francisco's been putting together. And so Francisco is the CEO and co-founder of Yopaki. And so we're going to go down there, do another startup day. And we're hoping to kind of have the same kind of effect where we go and do a startup day, bring some amazing builders and get people to believe in themselves, believe that they can actually do something similar to what we've done in Austin, believe that they can actually create startups, Bitcoin businesses down there and affect their community in a positive way like we've done here in Austin. And I think just using Austin as an example for these other cities, these other places in the world, I think Bitcoin can then prosper and really have a grassroots effect to the wider global ecosystem. So at least that's what we believe here at PlebLab.
Yeah, Bitcoin is a grassroots movement. I mean, we might
Mhm.
have BlackRock and the president talking about it now, but at the end of the day, it's about adoption. It's about people on the ground downloading wallets, sending transactions, learning about Bitcoin, and having it positively affect their life. And I think what you're doing with the businesses, of course, as well as these startup days, it's empowering people, right? And Bitcoin has this amazing power to do that.
Yeah, it's like I like to call it like a city toolkit, right? It's like you get them a hackerspace, you get them an accelerator, get them a top builder, a startup day, and then they can start doing it themselves. And then
Yeah,
before you know it, the city has Bitcoin businesses that accept Bitcoin, and then that
yeah.
spreads. And then you take it to another city, and then they have the same kind of toolkit, and then they start doing it, and they take it to another city, and this is
Hmm.
how it happens. And then you're doing it too, Rob, with your news and helping it get out there. And so everybody has a role to play, right? So that's what's great about what we do in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and despite the fact that we're 16 years into this, it's still early, right?
Uh-huh.
There's 8 billion people on this planet, probably 7.5+ billion who have no idea what Bitcoin is. So there's lots of education that needs to happen, and that's what we're doing here today. So we are here with Bitcoin News Weekly newsletter. Comes out every Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern, straight into your inbox. We break down the biggest headlines in all of Bitcoin, and today this edition is entitled Whale Games Trigger a 4K Bitcoin Flash Crash, but Retail Keeps Stacking. Volatility aside, new holders add 50,000 Bitcoin to their stacks last week alone. So yes, head over to weekly.bitcoinnews.com, check out the newsletter, sign on up, get subscribed, and then join us every Monday morning at 11 a.m. as we break down the biggest headlines. So we hop right in with our adoption section. And speaking of Latin America, we start off with Argentina. So Argentina launches BA Crypto, enabling residents and businesses to pay city taxes and fees with Bitcoin. Eligible payments include property tax, vehicle tax, driver's licenses, traffic fines, and more. So yes, this is part of Malay's efforts to modernize the economy and bring growth back to Argentina. And there's been some talk about Malay and Argentina with this post by Saifuddin Amus, of course, the author of the Bitcoin Standard last week, where he bashed Malay and said that the real growth hasn't really happened there, and that he's still working with the IMF and the central bankers, and they've doubled the money supply. Whereas people on the ground say, no, there's been real change here economically and just in lifestyle. And it's been a big improvement since Malay has taken over. So what do you think about this? Would you ever pay your taxes in Bitcoin or pay for a traffic fine in Bitcoin? And do you have any word about Argentina and what Malay has got going on down there?
Well, first off, I think El Salvador kind of set the bar kind of high. I think that's the first thing. I think the president of El Salvador really set the bar high, and I think anything below that is now kind of considered, you know, a little bit dovish, a little bit. So I think there's that, and I think Safe has a right to his opinion, and so as you know, we all respect Safe and what he says. So there's that. I do think it's a little bit harsh. I don't think there's any way. I don't know if you saw the Lex Friedman podcast where Malay went on there.
Mm-mm.
And it was pretty obvious earlier this year that Malay wasn't really going to do anything. He went on the podcast and basically said that he was just going to kind of do this. He was just going to set it in a course direction. He wasn't actually going to full right and turn. It kind of reminded me of kind of what Obama said after he kind of got elected. Like he wasn't actually going to do anything. He was just going to side with everybody and just kind of course correct. He wasn't actually going to full make changes.
Mhm.
And I think when you have presidents like that, they don't really do much outside of just benefit themselves. So I'm not one to say anything. I'm not really a politician kind of guy. I don't really partake in that kind of stuff. As for the tax stuff, I think you're just seeing that everywhere. We just had a law passed here in Texas recently that they're going to start doing that with the comptroller here locally.
Mhm.
So I think that's just happening everywhere, Rob. I think I think there's another story happening here that governments are buying Bitcoin. So I think you guys had a post that said that recently. So
Mhm.
I think that's just a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these states are all in debt, Argentina especially, right? And they're going to want the hardest asset, one that is growing faster than any other, and that is Bitcoin, right? And so accepting taxes in Bitcoin is probably the easiest way to start accumulating it for the state, right? States don't really make profit. They know how to take and then redistribute. But at the end of the day, a functioning state is better than a non-functioning one, right? So Argentina is headed in the right direction. It does seem that way. Yeah, I mean, and just the fact that he got elected, right, shows a big sea change in the way of the way the people of Argentina were feeling about their government, about their socialist policies, realizing that the endless gravy train only leads to red lines at the end of the day. So it's positive developments, and yeah, I mean, but Malaya, he has messed around with shit coins. Like there was the Libra scam. He was involved with a really big scammer, Hayden Davis. He got tied up in that. That magically got swept under the rug. I know he was going to be under investigation for that, but that just seems to have gone away. So, but overall, if it's better for the people of Argentina, then power to them. And we just see Bitcoin adoption continue to grow in many different ways across the world.
Yeah, well said. We even saw him with the WEF earlier this year too. So that was another sign.
Yeah, right. So we'll see. We'll see. Jury's still out on Malay, but anyway, any positive developments are good things, right? So the other big headline from the adoption section this week is TFTC. They went totally viral with a 2-minute AI-made mini movie explaining the devastating fallout from the US abandoning the gold standard. So yeah, I mean, you are in Austin. You are in the same building as TFTC. You've got the studio in the room right next to you. Have you watched these mini movies? We're going to pull it up next, and we can allow the viewers at home to watch it as well. But have you seen these, and what's been the impact of these viral AI sensations here?
Well, no, I haven't watched this, but to be honest, like this is just me like working here next to TFTC studios. Like there's really only a few handful. This is just alpha for your listeners and for your audience, Rob, so you know what it's like working in this building. Because it's PlebLab, Unchained, and then there's TFTC, and then there's the co-working space Bitcoin Park, right? So in this building, the Littlefield building, there's like a lot of companies here, right? A lot of Bitcoin companies. So and on the weekends and at nights, there's like 4 or 5 of us who are just like killers, who are just up here late at night obsessed. And one of them is I mean, one of them definitely is me, and then another one is Lewis, and he works at TFTC. And I'll see him like late at night to like 3 in the morning, because I'll be walking downstairs going to like go grab a pizza down the street, and he'll just be like coming up down and like, and so that's why I know like he's obsessed. I'm just like, this dude's obsessed with like his job, which is cool. That's what you want in somebody who's building a company, is like they're obsessed. You know, you're obsessed.
Yeah.
And so like so I'm not surprised. This is not, so I haven't seen the video yet, but as far as the AI stuff, there was at South by this year, there was an AI an AI actual film festival. So I think it is taking off, and they're kind of showing, they were kind of showing how like AI is already starting to already just kill jobs just in the film industry. And so there's already kind of this film movement here in Austin as it is, this indie film movement. And I think that's just going to take even more jobs as it is. And I think we're just going to see more and more of this, which is good and bad. But it's just going to, you know, this is why it's so important to hold Bitcoin right now. Like,
Yeah, AI is coming, and it's interesting. You would think that it'd be the menial tasks that are being taken first, but no, it's the creative stuff, right? But it's also the great democratization of filmmaking. You no longer need to be in LA and spend tens of thousands of dollars on just insurance, right? No, you can have an idea, create a story within a couple of weeks. So I think Lewis, he's the producer for TFTC.
I think he's like one, I don't know exactly what his title is there, but he's like Marty's right-hand guy. He's the head creative guy, director, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this this video that we're about to watch that they just put out, I think it was made by a 19-year-old. Elijah is a part of their team.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, I mean, let's watch this and then we can talk about it some more.
Gold was supposed to back the dollar. Leaving the gold standard was the most costly mistake we ever made.
What was so bad about gold?
It kept them honest, but they wanted power. You know, kid, folks today think this is just how life's supposed to be.
What do you mean?
Back in my day, one job could feed a family. My mother stayed home, father worked, and we ate together every night. Didn't realize how good we had it. After the World War, they promised gold-backed dollars, but they broke that promise. They printed paper backed by nothing, funded wars we couldn't afford and shouldn't have been involved in. But France caught on and sent a warship to get back their gold. Truth is, if more countries followed, our vaults would be empty and game over.
I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
Turns out, when you fake the money, everything else follows, and you screw the next generation over. And it snowballs, kid. Prices shot up, paychecks didn't, life got tougher, and nobody knew why. We tried raising our kids the old way, but we didn't have the time or the money.
So you outsourced parenting?
Yeah, I guess you could say we did. Government schools raised them, and the TV taught them bad morals. They learned debt, not savings. Bought houses they couldn't afford. Played video games. Gambling, antidepressants, and crimes. Families fractured. Divorce rates doubled. Birth rates plummeted. Things got so bad, people started financing Chipotle.
Financing a burrito?
Yeah, it's getting bad. Obesity, people eating cheap slop instead of real food. We got softer, sicker, and lazier. A nation in decline. But it didn't happen overnight. When Nixon left the gold standard, we traded sound money for a lifetime of debt.
How will they ever pay it back?
I don't think they plan to. Both sides keep spending like there's no tomorrow and leaving the bill to your generation. We didn't get it right, but you've still got a chance. So, take the reins, kid. Hold your ground and don't give up on sound money.
So yeah,
It's good. It's
really good, man. Really good.
I can hear
And
Marty's voice in there. Like, a lot of the things that Marty says, you can hear his
For
voice
sure.
in there for sure. 100%. It's like the same. It's like the same. Like it's his writing. I can hear his writing in there for sure.
Mhm.
100%.
And but that's how we win. We win through narratives, right? People love stories. That's how our brains work. And
Mhm.
if you can, I mean, did that not feel like Hollywood? Of course, there's some little AI things in there if you want to
Mhm.
nitpick that, but
Yeah.
that feels like a $100,000 plus production that was done for a couple
Yeah.
$100 using VO3, Google's video
Mhm.
generator, right? So,
Right.
like me, I have a background in film production, editing, and whatnot, and I mean, being on top of the news and doing all this stuff has definitely taken me away from that. But I would love to find the times to get into this AI stuff because it is so powerful, right? And I mean, that video alone, that's got almost 600,000 impressions on X, and people have posted that all over. And it breaks out of the Bitcoin bubble that we're in, and can reach
Mhm.
some new people. So I think it's really powerful stuff. And again, that's how we win. We win with memes and narratives.
Yeah, I think it was what was really telling about it was just, just the reminder that we all have like what happened? Like,
Mhm.
and it's the other thing that really grinds my gears about this whole situation, because he talks about it at the end with the whole Biden thing and the Trump thing. It's the frustrating thing about it, Rob, is these guys just won't get out of the way. And I've said this before on Stacker News Live, the show that I do with Keon weekly, and I hate saying this because it sounds so rude, but I'm going to say this once again because it has to be said. Somebody has to say this. And this is not me blaming this generation, but the boomer generation is one of the most selfish generations that ever existed on this planet. And I hate saying that, but it has to be said. Like, they really just need to get out of the way at this point. Like, they're really doing a number on this world, and they just won't remove themselves from the wheel. It's like a drunk old person who is like driving this country into a like this wall, and then they won't remove themselves from the wheel, and everybody's telling this drunk person, like, please stop stop slamming us into this brick wall. And like, we're all telling this old person, stop doing it. And for the life of me, like, I don't know why we don't have an age limit in these political arenas. Like, what is going on there? Like, it's like they're ruining this country.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on there. So, like, I think the first thing we need to do is just set an age limit. Like this is bad. Like, this is really, really bad. And like, and they don't say that in the video, but it's clearly obvious. Like, they're alluding to that. Like, this is like, we literally have 70-year-old people making decisions that are going to impact the rest of our lives. And I don't know if you go to church, but I go to church, and 70-year-old people sit in the back, and they like listen, and they advise, and they let the younger generation lead. But they're the ones advising. They're the ones who are telling us, like, okay, you do this, you do that, you do that. But the younger people in their 40s and 50s are the ones who are actually leading the congregation. That's how that works.
Mhm.
And that's not what's happening in America. And that's why I think we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gerontocracy, right?
Yeah.
A society ruled by the elderly. And the problem is, I mean, of course, each generation has its part to play and can offer something to a society, but it's really about skin in the game. And as someone in your 40s and your 50s, like, yeah, most of those people they have kids, and they want to see a future world that is brighter, because they also have 30, 40 years ahead of themselves in their lives.
Yeah.
But I mean, Trump's almost 82, right? Biden,
Yeah.
80, Trump's 80. Yeah, it's definitely. And do they even know what's going on in terms of
Right.
AI and Bitcoin and all these
Yeah.
world-changing things that are happening right now? I do think it might be a trap to try to the intergenerational warfare, right? that blame the older people. It's because one thing you also got to think is like it's like blaming a fish for being wet, right?
Right.
Boomers were born into the most prosperous society and just rode this productivity wave, whether it be technology or opening up of China and the fall of the Soviet Union. All these things just really just lined up for their life for them to think that it should just be easy for them. It should be easy. Why can't we do it? Our generation, it was easy for them. You guys are just not working hard enough. No, it's because it was sort of a once in a millennia type thing where that generation got to ride this epic win, which was World War II, world reserve currency status, and then the eating of the purchasing power through inflation that allowed them to have their assets just go up in their adult lives, whether it be stocks or houses or anything else that they owned. So yeah, man, it's a tricky situation that we're in, but it's up to us. It's up to the younger generations to figure it out and to fix it. And we think Bitcoin is a big part of it, and that's what gives us energy. And
I mean, well said. I mean, this is why, like, I think the way I believe now is just I'm just going to lead through my community, and I'm just going to ignore all that and let them do what they're going to do, and I'm just going to lead locally, and I'm just going to do what I'm already doing anyway, and I'm just going to fix it alongside while the destruction is happening, and that's what I'm doing, and that's why I think is the only way to fix something that's already crumbling. I don't think they're going to allow us to fix it, but I think if we just show them that stuff is already being fixed without their help, I think maybe the only thing you can do is just lead by example, and
absolutely.
that's it. And I think that's the only way to do it. And I know you're doing that. I know we're all doing that in the ecosystem. And I think Marty's doing that with that video. Like, that's all you can do.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how El Salvador won on a Bitcoin standard, was that they saw the success of Bitcoin Beach, right? Which started with a grant, a gift of Bitcoin to start a circular economy. And then they saw how that started to boom and grow. And yeah, I agree. The biggest change you can make is, of course, with yourself first, but then your local community. And that's the real power, changing your life and the lives of those around you, those you care about. And you don't care about anyone more than those immediately around you. So we got to make the change on the local level. All right. So hopping back into these headlines, one interesting one here is Bitcoin tipping is now live on X, powered by BitBit and Spark, part of Lightspark. The feature lets 500 million users receive instant Bitcoin payments without a wallet using BitBit's self-custodial browser extension. So yeah, we have that here. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So actually I'm clicking on it, but I guess it doesn't pop up on this screen here. But yes, Bitcoin tipping was allowed on X first through Strike, back when Jack Dorsey was in charge of it back in 2020 or 2021. But now we've got this new option where you can zap people like on Nostr, but on X. And so you just add this Chrome extension, and then you can start zapping people with Bitcoin. And then if they don't claim it for 21 days, I think it goes back to you. You have to set up your wallet within 21 days of receiving the payment. But it's pretty cool to see this. And I mean, I think zaps, of course, are the real killer feature on Nostr, and to see Bitcoin payments be spread to an even larger network and platform like X is very encouraging. What do you think about this?
I think it's incredible. I think Lightspark has been that thing that everybody thought they were going to be. I think David Marcus has just absolutely killed it, dude. I mean, it's no wonder he's been so successful in the kind of like fiat arena, and then, obviously with the crypto stuff, and then PayPal, and then all his experience that he has. And then for him to come into Bitcoin, I understand now why everybody was so bullish on him early on, just with him coming into the Lightning space and the ecosystem. Just kind of just on the technical side, just kind of what he's been able to do on the back end. I mean, just from what I hear, like a lot of developers aren't too excited about what he's doing technically on the back end, because it's kind of a very different way of handling Lightning payments. But still, I think it's pretty remarkable that he's been able to do it and get it across the goal line and still manage to avoid any kind of regulation or, any kind of risk like that to its users. I'm incredibly interested to see when the wallet is, because he's supposed to be implementing LightSpark into Wallet of Satoshi, and then that's supposed to land inside of America at some point. And as you know, Wallet of Satoshi was the biggest app before it got removed from the App Store. So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like, especially during a bull run later this year. Like that's going to just light everything on fire, I think. So yeah, incredibly bullish on LightSpark, incredibly bullish for what it's been doing to the ecosystem as of late. And Marcus is just killing it, dude. Like killing it.
Yeah, you're right that there has been some gripes from the technical community in
Yeah.
terms of how he's handling the Lightning integration into all this. But if you ever hear him on CNBC or at a conference, he is extremely pro Bitcoin, Bitcoin only, very clear to the mission, saying that don't issue a token. There's no need for this. We have the protocol and the network with Bitcoin itself natively. You can do all these things that we needed to do. We just got to build on top of that. And I do think that he has been a great champion in the space, especially in those tech circles, right? In Silicon Valley, where it's surprisingly hard to find true Bitcoin champions, you know? Do you have any ideas why you think that is the case?
What do you mean as far as like why he
Silicon
hasn't
Valley not adopting Bitcoin as much as a
you know, from what I've been hearing over there, and obviously Austin's completely different than San Francisco. Just so people that are your listeners know, like here in Austin, the vibe here is the way it was in 2020, 2021 when I came into the Bitcoin ecosystem. Like it was very Web3. Now it's a very AI here in Austin. So everybody has an AI startup. So if you come in downtown financial district, you go to Capital Factory where everybody's an entrepreneur there. Everybody's doing an AI startup. If you would have went there 3-4 years ago, everybody was doing a Web3 startup, right? Now, like pretty much everybody's a Bitcoiner here. It's either Bitcoin or AI that I've noticed. There's hardly any Web3 companies. So it's mostly Bitcoin now or some layer of Bitcoin. In Silicon Valley or in San Francisco, from what I've been hearing over there, just from the people that work in that space, from what they're telling me, like they don't intermesh with each other. Like there's not a lot of that going on. Here in Austin, a lot of Bitcoiners intermesh with the AI people, and you see a lot of that going on. Even back then, when it was like 21, the Web3 people would intermesh with the Bitcoiners a little bit, but it wasn't like incestuous, I guess, to put it to that kind of verbiage. But I don't know why that is over there, and it's over here it's very different, because you'll even see like Block will throw like a meetup over here, and it'll be like an AI Block meetup, or we'll do like something over there and it'll be like an AI Bitcoin meetup thing. So I think it's just different here in Austin, probably because we're just a little bit more open to that here. I don't know why that's not over there in San Francisco. Couldn't tell you why.
Yeah, I think it's a great mystery. I mean, of course, there's Jack, and they did open up the Presidio Bitcoin space there, and I think that they're having a lot of high-end technical talks. They talk about the quantum threat and all that stuff. But it will be interesting to see over this next decade if Silicon Valley finally does get on the Bitcoin train, or they're just. I mean, I think it's a lot of the fast money culture too in San Francisco. You know, where you want to make a buck, you want to get that exit, and tokens allow you to get that exit, right?
I will say this though. So we've been doing the Bitcoin stuff for a while here now. So I think maybe they just kind of got used to us after a while, and they keep seeing us doing it over and over and over. And we're just loud enough where they're like, okay, they're not going away. So I think there's that too as well. And so I think there's that. And then this was the first year, believe it or not, where South by Southwest. So like we submitted a proposal for South by Southwest, and we actually got approved. So so people can vote for PlebLab to get a panel on South by Southwest this year.
Oh, wow. Cool.
The deadline was yesterday, so I can't tell your audience to go vote for us. But that just kind of shows that they're actually being more receptive for Bitcoin now than they were in the past. So I would even say, like, even me, like, I would say, like, they're much more receptive now. Like, even like Antler, who's another accelerator, but they're more of a tech accelerator. Even they're willing to jump on a call with me now about PlebLab and its Bitcoin accelerator than they were like 2 years ago or whatever. So I would say that I think they're more accepting of us now than they were probably like 3 or 4 years ago when it was just all hype. So maybe it'll just take more time. I think that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, we just gotta keep proving that we're not going
Yeah.
away, right?
Yeah.
And just showing up every day, every
Yeah.
week, every month, and providing
Al-
value.
Also meeting them where they're at too.
Yeah.
I'm a really big a believer of like going to them and like being friends with them.
Mm,
Because I used to work in the tech industry here in Austin, so like I already knew most of these people, not like to that level, but I was already working around these people. So like to me, like I don't see them as like an enemy or anything like that, if that makes any sense.
yeah, no, you can't, and
And
that's
I'm
not
sure
where.
David Marcus probably is the same way, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly. Gotta send out those olive branches because at the end of the day, we think Bitcoin can help everybody. So
because they're gonna come eventually.
they will. Everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Speaking of getting Bitcoin at the price you deserve, there's a new Pennsylvania bill here in our legal section that seeks to bar public officials from holding Bitcoin. This representative, Ben Waxman, says he was motivated by the perceived corruption at the federal level, citing President Donald Trump. So this bill is pretty crazy. We have an article over it on bitcoinnews.com. And if we go into the details, this bill aims to close what Waxman calls the ethical loophole that would allow elected officials to use their influence to personally profit from the growing digital asset industry. So, any public officials in Pennsylvania, if this bill goes through, would have to disclose digital asset holdings over $1,000 and divest any amounts above that within 90 days of the law taking effect. This would not apply. This would apply not only to officials themselves, but also to their immediate family members. The law would also prohibit officials and their families from conducting digital asset transactions during their time in office and for 1 year after leaving. So, yeah, this includes, of course, direct ownership of Bitcoin. And violations of the law could be serious. The bill classifies certain branches as felonies, certain breaches as felonies that carry fines up to $10,000 or prison time of up to 5 years. Other restricted activities could result in civil penalties up to $50,000. So this is pretty draconian and insane. But when we got a president who likes to call himself the Bitcoin president, and he's a Republican, it sort of makes political sense for the other side to rise up against it, right? So what do you think about this going on in Pennsylvania?
I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Did you ever read that old Reddit post? It was called like it was like a time travel. This is just more for the plebs that want to listen, that want to go and check this out. It's an old 2013 Reddit post. It's like a time traveler post, and he was like predicting the future. Obviously, it's a joke, but he talked about like what Bitcoin looked like in the future. He predicted a lot of things right, and one of them was that when Bitcoin got past a certain amount, I think it was like 100K or something in the year 2025 or whatever, that before the government started buying Bitcoin, they were going, the presidents, all the people at the top officials were going to start buying Bitcoin, like front running it before they started buying it. And in that Reddit post, they predicted this, but this was back in 2013. You have to look for it, but it's not surprising that is going on. I love it. I think it's great. But I would not want to run for office at that point if I couldn't buy Bitcoin.
That's
Did
insane.
it say anything about like you have to have it already? Is that at least a thing, or?
No, if you have it already, you need to sell it within 90 days if you get elected. And
Oh,
your
wow.
family members can't hold it either.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah.
well, that sucks. Even an ETF or?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, then that's a no-go then.
No, it's brutal. It's insane. It's
Okay, I thought it was
draconian.
just you. I thought it was just you. I thought your wife could have it, or your
No,
your
immediate
son,
family
or
members. No,
even like an LLC holding it for you. Is
no,
that against?
no. And you cannot make a
Wow.
Bitcoin transaction while you're in office.
Yeah, I wouldn't
You
do.
can't hold it for a year after you leave.
Yeah, I wouldn't
It's
do
pretty
that.
insane.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's kind of. I thought there was like a loophole around it. So
No. So we've got this comment over on YouTube by Satwise saying, I lambasted Congressman Waxman today by phone and email. Since I'm a Pennsylvania resident, I told him he lives in bizarro world and that everything but holding Bitcoin should be illegal. So, I mean, it's Really insane. And you're right. The president is front running. I mean, if we bring up the chart here, number 8 on this list of Bitcoin treasury companies, of course, is Trump Media and Technology Group with 15,000 Bitcoin, the 8th largest Bitcoin treasury of public companies, coming in larger than both Coinbase and CleanSpark to
That's
round out
incredible,
the top
dude.
10. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
incredible.
they're in, dude. They're all in. Wild stuff. But yeah, if you're in Pennsylvania, definitely say something. Do what Satwise did. Give Waxman a call. Send him an email. And I mean, it is. I've sent a couple emails through for Bitcoin efforts, whatnot, to congressmen. And it's funny, they do reply to you. I mean, of course, it's not them themselves, but these offices, they do have plenty of interns. And if there is a large enough public outcry, they do take notice, because I think a lot of people just never even interact with the government whatsoever. So if you've got
Yeah,
something,
you would think they would give you at least like some kind of like out, like maybe something, right? Not just everybody in your family can't hold it either. That's terrible.
And we've got James over here saying, "I will support politicians who ignore this rule and self-custody secret."
There you go, James. That's how you
Yes,
do it.
that's the way to do it. So yes, if you are on YouTube and you want to comment. We share it up on screen. Hit the like button. Share it with your friends. If you're on X, repost this video. Again, we do this every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, breaking down the headlines from Bitcoin News Weekly. And so then one piece of positive legal news that I'd like to touch on with you, because I think you might have some insight, is that the U.S. Justice Department says it won't target developers of decentralized crypto platforms absent criminal intent. Writing code is not a crime, and failure to register as a money transmitter won't trigger charges. So yeah, there's been this gray area, right, where developers had to they didn't know what to do, right? Were they money transmitters? Were they not? Was it illegal, or were you in the clear? But we just had of course, Tornado Cash trial came to a conclusion. He was found guilty of being a unlicensed money transmitter, but 2 of the other charges were not. He was found not guilty on those. And then the Samurai Wallet devs, of course, they just pled guilty right before that decision was made in the Tornado Cash case. So yeah, it seems like we've got both things going on right now, right? Where there is some legal clarity, but at the same time, this biggest one of being a money transmitter is still an issue here. So do you have to deal with that with any of the startups that come through?
Man, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So this is the stuff that we talk about in the lab all the time. Like all the time. We have this conversation on a weekly basis. So we have a lawyer that we use, that we recommend. We recommend definitely talking to a lawyer for anything. I like to say we're experimenting at all times in the lab, meaning that we're testing things. It is a lab. We're always experimenting here inside of PlebLab. So nothing is, we're not trying to do anything maliciously. We're always testing on the test net. We're doing things out of trying to break Bitcoin. This is good for Bitcoin. Like, it's in development. These are things that are going to make Bitcoin stronger. These are the words that we use in PlebLab, so that way people know that, we're not trying to push anything out there that is illegal or malicious or trying to hurt people in any way. We're just really trying to strengthen Bitcoin from a development standpoint. This way people know that we have good intent out there for what we're trying to build inside of PlebLab. So the other thing I would mention is like the Justice Department and what they're doing with these different cases is very alarming to us. Like, we definitely take that very seriously, and we're looking at it, and we're talking about it, and we're trying to figure out ways of how to make sure that we're in compliance of all that. Not only myself as somebody who runs PlebLab, but making sure that information gets to everybody inside the lab, and that we are taking it very seriously. The other thing I will say is that we all have our individual lawyers that we get advice from, and it's something that we take very seriously. As far as like, how to advise some of these startups and these projects early on, it's literally just more from like you know, are you doing this non-custodially? Are you testing on the test net first? Is this something that is going to put you in a position of like, how do you say, um, of risk that is
Mhm.
going to get you in trouble? It's really thinking through these things clearly and really defining like what it is that you're actually doing. We never want to set developers or projects up for failure, meaning like we don't want to get them in trouble. Um, and that's kind of the stuff that we take it very seriously here. So early on, like we had people like Super Testnet inside of PlebLab who were doing really fun stuff, and they were really trying to do really, pushing Bitcoin to its limits and stuff. And so, he was able to do a lot of those really cool things. And so a lot of the stuff that you would see was very much, built for like hackathons and like stuff like that. And it's more proof of concept than anything. So that's where I would say it's like it's called PlebLab for a reason.
Mhm.
A lot of times. But anytime somebody is doing like a startup or something and stuff that was going to, go out and try to raise money or get bootstrapped, that's when it actually has to have like a business component to it. That's when it actually has to have like, hey, like how are you going to turn this into a business? And then in that sense, you have to follow the letter of the law to its T.
Mhm.
Everything has to get checked out. That's when they're meeting with investors. That's when they're meeting with our advisors, and that's when nothing gets. There's no stone that's not unturned.
Mhm.
So like that's a totally different type of situation than it is when we're just kind of testing stuff in the lab. Does that make sense, Rob? I
Yeah,
can clear up
absolutely.
anything if there's. Yeah,
We Bitcoin is an experiment, right? It comes from
totally.
an experiment, and it's a living one going on right now. And developers need to be free without fear of persecution to be able to create and try new things. And that's how we have all the wonderful technology that we have today. So, code is speech, Bitcoin is code. It's just a bunch of ones and zeros, right? And so that's why it should be free. But hopefully we're getting some clarity with the new Justice Department, not under Biden, but under Trump, that will make these things more clear and will take that monkey off of developers' backs so that we can have more experimentation and more growth. And
I will
yeah,
say one more thing. This is where I would say like you want a place like PlebLab where you want people developing in this kind of space where it's like safe for them to develop stuff like
mhm,
this. Because if you have people developing, let's say, quietly somewhere else, like where it's not done in a more open, collaborative environment, then it could lead to things that go really dark really fast.
mhm.
That's all I would say. Is like when it's done openly, collaboratively, with good intent, then you're going to have good results. And that's what I believe. Like everything beautiful is created in light, and everything that is dark is created in darkness.
Mhm.
And you can see behind me, there's a lot of beautiful light that comes through here. So that's where I would say it's just like you want things created like this. So
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
we need to have Bitcoin development be completely free and legal, just
Mhm.
as we have right now. The purchasing of Bitcoin is free and legal. And right now, I would like to give a big shout out to our number one sponsor, Rhino Bitcoin. Rhino is the all-in-one Bitcoin super app built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Go there, download it on your phone, Google, Android, or Apple iOS, and you can buy or sell instantly. You can send your sats anywhere, as you see on the video right there, anywhere in the world on the Lightning Network. You can withdraw straight to cold storage, and you can even turn sats into gift cards or link to a Casa multi-sig, all within this app right here. Rhino, get Rhino. Yes, and because they're just warming up, they're just getting started. Soon you'll be able to pay your bills, borrow against your Bitcoin, and stack for retirement without leaving the app. So what's stopping you? Go today. Download Rhino at rhinobitcoin.com or just tap the link below in the description. Use the code Bitcoin News and you'll get $10 of Bitcoin sent into your account for free. So secure your stack Bitcoin with Rhino. It's free, it's legal here in the United States of America. Get your Bitcoin today. Use Rhino. And thank you so much for the sponsorship of the show. So, Car, we got about 10 minutes left here, and I want to talk about what happened yesterday. So if we bring up the price chart, I think it's a good descriptor of what's going on. We had this on a Sunday afternoon. Bitcoin was chilling at 14,000, and then boom, drops immediately within an hour to 10,600. So it turns out there's this whale who's been sitting on over 150,000, or previously they had 170,000 plus Bitcoin for 7 years, and they've been just market selling in a very reckless, haphazard way on a Sunday. And that left a lot of people scratching their head. Like, there's a lot more elegant and sophisticated ways to do this to get less slippage and to not cause this giant price dip, which raised a lot of question marks. Like, why would they sell so recklessly on a Sunday when the markets are their least liquid? Were you keeping an eye on the price yesterday? Did you see this?
No,
drop?
I didn't. No, I sure didn't. Yeah. What are your thoughts around it? I'd be curious to find out what you think about it.
Yeah, so I mean, I did some digging, and I think that this might be one of the best explanations that I saw. So Zero Hedge came out and said, now, why would someone want to sell a huge block and take out the entire bid stack 3 times in a row so they can trigger sell momentum and accumulate much lower? Well, that seems might be what's happening here. So instead of trickling sales into ETF absorption, this whale stacked blocks at size to nuke the bid wall 3 times in a row. And it was deliberate. Why? Because taking out the bid stack triggers cascading liquidations, perps, leverage longs, weak hands. That lets the same entry reload lower while ETF sovereigns and corporates keep buying the net supply. So this whale is showing us something bigger. They know the ETF sovereign bid is infinite. So the only way to win is to force weak hands to puke and then accumulate back into the structural wall. So what this guy here, Sightbringer, thinks is that this guy wanted to use his stack to scoop up more Bitcoin. And so, I mean, whales have played games with the Bitcoin price from the very beginning, of course. And this is one way that they accumulate more. At an illiquid time, like a Sunday afternoon, they can sell 24,000 Bitcoin, nuke the price by about 4 or 5%, and then scoop up more, especially if they set a short right before they did it, right? So it seems as if this was whales playing games and using the fact that the institutions aren't there on the weekend to get more Bitcoin. What do you think about
interesting. Oh, that's interesting. You must be a big whale if you can do that.
I mean, he's got 170,000 plus Bitcoin before this weekend, and then he just sold 24,000 of them, right? So
wow,
you're a pretty decent whale. You got way more than a lot of these Bitcoin treasury companies.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, 24,000 Bitcoin, that's 2 months of mine supply, right? And a lot of people have been talking, especially on this bull run, like exchanges are running out of Bitcoin. And I mean, that's a very bullish narrative, but it's not really, it might not be the most true one. As you can see here, let me share this. Sani, one of the best analysts in Bitcoin, in my opinion, he just put out a new chart this weekend documenting the Bitcoin that is held on centralized exchanges. So we are currently at 3.4 million Bitcoin on centralized exchanges, and the all-time high was a year ago, where there was a couple 100,000 more. So no, despite what people on YouTube might say, exchanges are not really running out of Bitcoin. It does seem as if there's been a lot of whales who have found $100,000 to be the magical number, right? And if you bought Bitcoin at $10 or lower, and you can trade one Bitcoin for $100,000, 15 or 13, 14 years later, that's quite the trade. And you can definitely get some lifestyle chips off the table and play around with those. But yeah, no matter, there will always be Bitcoin for sale. If Bitcoin price goes up, it attracts new people to sell some on the market, and that's just how the market works. But whales can still play games, especially on the weekend.
Yeah, that's crazy that it just kind of flashed like that overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
you typically see it at the end of the month just because bills, right? But like
Mm.
a week before is kind of interesting.
Yes, that's the market news. We got a comment here from our man over here, Allman XYZ on YouTube, saying PlebLab is so cool. Kudos. I'm a Bitcoiner in Italy with a Texas girlfriend. If your most dangerous superstition will permit me with a visa, I'll come to join for a chat and a beer.
Yeah, whenever, man. We have Tuesdays is open hackerspace day, so come through.
And he says, if you go to Venice, go and check out the Bitcoin Venice community.
Yeah, one day.
Yes. Cool. So yeah, let's get to just a few more headlines in here before we head out. These Bitcoin strategic reserves, while the trail might have gone cold here in America, they are still popping up around the world. We had the first talks last week in Brazil. There is a plan to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve using their foreign reserves to convert, I believe, 5% of it, which would be over $10 billion, into a Bitcoin reserve. And Brazil is a relatively large nation in terms of economic might. But then there's also countries like Philippines, right? So one of their Congress people proposed a strategic Bitcoin reserve requiring the purchase of 2,000 Bitcoin annually for 5 years to bring the total to 10,000 Bitcoin and hold it for 20 years to strengthen national security and debt stability. Do you think we are at the point of Bitcoin's maturation where this will actually start expanding across the world? We'll see countries create Bitcoin strategic reserves, or are we a cycle or two away from this really taking hold?
I think the southern hemisphere is going to get it first. I think we saw, I don't know if you read the fourth turning or not, but like
Yeah.
I think the southern hemisphere is the one, and it's no surprise like the Philippines are already doing it. I think the northern hemisphere countries are a little bit too greedy, unfortunately, and we're going to have to learn the lesson the hard way. Obviously, the plebs are going to be stacking, and we'll be fine. But the leaders in charge, they're just not very great, and they don't know how to lead. And so, yeah, I think you're seeing the southern hemisphere countries that are doing what they should be doing, and so the Philippines doing that is not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of who has the most to gain and who has the most to lose. I
Mhm.
mean, uh, the America, of course, with the world reserve currency,
Mhm.
even talking about Bitcoin on a federal level shows some weakness, you could say, right? That things
Mhm.
aren't hunky dory, that this debt problem is real, and that we're looking for a means out of it. And just the fact that we'd have senators and the sitting president entertain the idea of integrating Bitcoin into our monetary system in some way is pretty astounding. Um, but at the end of the day, it's game theory, and everybody is going to. But it makes the most sense, as you said, for these smaller countries to do so first, as we've seen with El Salvador. Bhutan is
Yeah.
another great example of a small country integrating
Yeah.
Bitcoin and really winning from it. And why should they? Well, this is why. Um, because, as we mentioned in the opening monologue, the probability of positive Bitcoin returns per holding period, it just goes up with over time, right? If you hold it for one day, you got about a 53% chance of it being positive, but it just goes up. 1 quarter, you hold it for 3 months, you got nearly 2/3 chance of it being positive. A year, 77% chance. And then once you get into 3 and 5 year and 10 year time frames, you're looking at virtually guaranteed positive returns, right? So any asset that's had this amazing of a performance over the last decade and a half is going to get the eyeballs of those in power. And the amazing thing is that we've had the ability to front run them, and we still do, because Bitcoin is still in its infancy, and we are lucky enough to be here to talk about it, to build around it, and help spread the word. So, Car, um,
Yeah.
do you have any final thoughts? Would you like
I
to
think
share anything with the audience?
yeah, I think that chart just shows why I think it's so important to, if you're not able to stack, that doesn't mean that you're out of the game. This is just something for the plebs that are out there that are listening to this and they're wondering like, "Car, I can't stack. I'm already working 3 jobs. I drive Uber. I'm doing this." hey man, I've been there. We've all been there. I know what that's like. So let me just drop some wisdom on you. What I would do if I was you is start a Bitcoin company. And what I mean by that is like start gradually. So Rob, as you know, like we all come from different backgrounds. We all are figuring this out as we go along. But what you can do is, I think, and I believe that the only way in the future is going to be to start to get Bitcoin is going to be by selling services or selling something of a sort, and being able to being able to denominate those in sats. And I think that's going to be the way that you're going to be able to get Bitcoin in your hands in the future. And so if I was a pleb that was listening to this right now, I would look at that chart that Rob brought up and think of a way of how can I get sats that can accumulate that in 3 to 5, 10 years. And so if I can make 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 sats per month, what can I do that can accumulate that in 3 to 5 years through my Bitcoin business, through my Bitcoin services, whatever I can do, and start doing that now part-time. Because in the future, you probably won't be able to get Bitcoin so easily, or you might be priced out, right? So it's going to be a little bit harder. At least that's what I'm kind of predicting. And I also will say this other thing, and this is probably needs to be said because there's not a lot of people saying it, and I say this in the lab all the time, is for the last 10 years, Bitcoin has operated in this kind of fiat rail regime where you had Bitcoin have to fit itself into these fiat rails, whether it was like Swift or these other things. For the first time in its history, Bitcoin and Lightning is operating in its own digital playground, meaning that we're finally moving to this AI world, this spatial computing world, where we're no longer operating in this fiat rail system. They're playing in our world now. So guess what? Bitcoin has home court advantage for the first time in its history, and there's no stopping this train. And
Nice.
and if you're not stacking Bitcoin right now, and you're just doing like treasury company stuff, you're stupid, because like it's going to be easier it's going to be easier to make sats, to accumulate sats, to building some sort of service, online service, Bitcoin app of a sort, because you're already there. Like you're seeing what Lightspark's doing. You had that news about Lightspark. You had that news about that. So I would just say, think about building a Bitcoin app, and if you need help, come to PlebLab. This is what we do for a living.
Yeah, we still live in a world where you can trade fiat, dirty pieces of paper for pristine Bitcoin. But I agree with you. That probably won't always be the case, or you're going to have to just trade a whole lot of fiat paper for a little bit of Bitcoin. Earning Bitcoin is a great way to accumulate it. And also, like, if you start a business and you sell a good or a service, and you've got a Bitcoin theme, a Bitcoin background, you make it clear to the Bitcoin community that you are a Bitcoiner, people will flock to you, right? I mean, we got Ben over in Colorado with Peony Lane Wine. He makes wine, but he's a Bitcoiner, and Bitcoiners frequent his services, his goods, right? They buy his wine because he is a Bitcoiner. Crypto Cloak's another guy. He's a 3D printer guy, but he's just an all-out Bitcoiner, and people love to use his service because he is a Bitcoiner. So there's no better time than now to start, and you can start small. And the barrier to entry is so low. You just need a Bitcoin wallet and an idea. So get on out there and start earning Bitcoin today.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Car. Well, thank you so much for your time. If people want to find out more about PlebLab or your event down in Yucatan, where should they go?
Yeah, just go to pleblab.dev and check out all our stuff there. We have links to Startup Day Yucatan. Get yourself a ticket if you want to go down there, and we'll hopefully be releasing some news on Bitcoin news, hopefully later this week or next week, about all that, what that entails and everything. So yeah, appreciate you, Rob. Thank you for always helping us out here at PlebLab and everything that you do, covering the ecosystem's latest and greatest news. So we appreciate you here in Austin.
Thank you.
You're the best.
My pleasure. Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Bitcoin News Weekly. Hit that like button, reshare this, tell all your friends about it, get on the newsletter, and spread the word about Bitcoin. That's what we do. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.